Okay, our first four people will be Jennifer Miller, Emmeline Lamb, Jerron Lamb, and Elaine Kiswick.
All right. I'm going to go with, I want to say the name right, Jerron Lamb. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes. There you go.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Jaron Lamb. I'm a sophomore at El Camino High School. So it was a little confusing what you guys were saying about the hybrid schedule. So one thing I thought of was I wasn't sure if the beginning the check-in for like group B on the first 2 days was like just a check-in and then the students would leave. I'd recommend having like a Zoom open and a student checking it to have just because with the elementary school when they first opened up, they only had 2 days with their teacher, and then the rest of the time was kind of just thrown up in the air. And so I think it would be a good idea to have a teacher all the time. And so you could have a mix of Zoom and in person, and just have a Zoom running. And if the teacher need help, they can just have a student on a Chromebook on the Zoom to check. One thing I noticed is some of the statistics I saw last time not only showed improvement among students, it also showed like a decrease in scores and then, like the middle kind of spread. Um, so I think in person would be a really good idea. I don't know how many of you have attended an virtual class, but there's been times where I've been the only person on the Zoom with my camera on, like because the teacher's camera is broken and none of the other students will turn on their camera. So like I've known people who just kind of hop on their phone and just like not pay attention in class, but in-person school would help fix that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jerron, for sharing. What grade are you in again?
I'm
I
a
missed that.
sophomore.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Elaine Keswick. You're on, Elaine.
All right, hi. Good evening. My name is Elaine Keswick. I want to start by acknowledging that this district has taken a first step towards school reopening with the elementary split day hybrid schedule. Tonight, you've also proposed a hybrid middle and high school schedule. But honestly, this is what OUSD should have done since September. So we will call it a very delayed first step. Today, our county's adjusted case rate is 8.8. That means we should be entering the red tier shortly, as you said. Also, our case rate is almost at the point where the CDC calls for all grades to be back in the classroom for full-time instruction. In light of the rapidly decreasing case rates and increasing vaccination rates, I'd like to know that the district is really looking at getting the SPED preschool classes back for 4 days per week. My daughter has a cohort of 5 students. They attend 2 days per week for 2.5 hours each day, while a cohort of 4 students attends the other 2 days. The same teacher and same instructional assistants interact with both the cohorts. If the district put the 2 cohorts together for a total of 9 students, which is still far less than the state's allowed number per cohorting guidance, all of the kids could attend 4 days per week. Doing this would bring the district far closer to fully implementing Coral's and her peers' IEPs. I've heard the district excuses about the lack of mask wearing by some students as a reason to not do 4 days per week. I find it interesting that this has not stopped all of the surrounding districts or all of the private preschools from safely and successfully bringing their students back for full time or close to that. Please stop making excuses and take action. Additionally, I am deeply concerned when I see from the last meeting how the iReady exam data in math and language arts was presented to paint an overly optimistic picture of learning loss. As a mother of 3 kids, ages 8 months to 6 years old, and an educator of 15 years, having taught in high school in Venezuela, 4th and 1st grades locally, and running my own tutoring company for 10 years, I see through your misleading representation of the data. Kids who were are struggling more. The inequities that were already present in our educational system have been exacerbated. Stop trying to justify the use of a virtual system that does not meet the needs of so many of our most impacted students. And when as board members, you lean into the narrative of schools potentially being unsafe, you are culpable of convincing certain families that they shouldn't return to in-person instruction. The collective narrative needs to change. Promote the positive messaging to all families about the importance of being in school. Stop with the elaborate plans that don't really ever come to fruition. Do what OUSD knows how to do. Teach our kids in person. Be flexible and creative in your approach to make this happen. And finally, put our kids first. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Amy Palmer.
Members of the board, while I'm happy that our K-5 students are returning to the classroom next week, I feel that your efforts have been lackluster and ill thought out. First, let's discuss the intervention classes you've offered for only 1st and 2nd graders, and I swear this has relevance. We're given 3 days to submit a poorly worded application sent out only to students whose iReady test scores were far behind where they should be. The dates were misleading, the time was rushed, the plans worked out between intervention teachers and regular teachers were not well thought out, and the schedules caused massive complications that mostly involved taking students out of their normal classrooms. They should have started when all the students went back to school instead of this week. The intervention teachers did not have a lot of the answers to questions we parents had, resulting in multiple follow-up emails. It's a mess. How is this supposed to help our students? I hope your credit recovery intervention for the middle and high school students is better thought out than the elementary school intervention. Now let's talk about the 3 students in this district who've killed themselves in the last 2 weeks. Or would you rather forget about that because those are the students you failed? While our elementary school students are excruciatingly slowly going back to school, our middle and high school students are being further exiled, isolated, and left out. They haven't even been part of your discussions for the last 11 months. When you look at the health data from the beta.healthdata.gov site for the week of February 20th to February 26th of this year, California as a state is ranked 41 out of all the states in new cases per 100,000. We're ranked better than New York, we're ranked better than Texas, we're ranked better than Virginia and Washington, D.C., all of which are open for in-person learning. Also taking into account the CDC indicators and thresholds for community transmission, less than 9 new cases per 100,000 and a positivity rate of less than 5% puts us in the blue low transmission tier. As our numbers currently sit at 8.8 cases per 100,000 and a positivity rate of less than 4%, what does all this mean? Our schools, K through 12, can open for in-person learning. All of our K-12 schools can offer sports and extracurricular activities in person. Beta.healthdata.gov state profile also has a different tiering system that is more than our outdated one we've been using since the beginning. That puts us in the light green tier. This website is directly accessed from cdc.gov, which is the entity we should be basing our data on and metrics, since it's their job to study disease and put out safe guidelines for the general public, not the blueprint for a safer economy. The metrics for school reopening from the CDC is what we should be following. If you need help finding these resources, I'd be happy to email them to you. And just because my kids are in elementary school doesn't mean I'm not going to stop fighting for all the kids when they begin in-person instruction. It could have been my kids. It could be my kids in the future. It's my neighbor's kids. It's my friends' kids. They're all our kids, and we are failing them. You focus too much on metrics and numbers and not enough on how and when to reopen the schools. Focus on that, reopening the schools now. And you said so yourself, Ms. Alvarez, that hybrid school schedules don't work, and we've told you virtual learning doesn't work. Haven't they suffered enough? Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Victoria Mariani, you're up next.
Yay. Good
Yes.
evening, students, families, staff, and board members. I'm teacher Victoria Mariani, and I'm speaking tonight about OUS's plan to return in-person learning. This year has been fraught with challenges and changes, and as a teacher, I've been flexible in my planning, delivery, and assessment of instruction. The district's most recent plan to reopen schools was no doubt planned for by leaders from the district office with seemingly little to no input from classroom teachers. This is unfortunately a recurring theme in OUSD's planning strategy. The AM/PM return has advantages and disadvantages, and teachers like myself will rise to the occasion and make it work for scholars. However, OUSD's plans for mediation are blatantly flawed. First off, the plan calls for 3 to 6 weeks of remediation. With all due respect, I've been teaching after school and or tutoring students in grades kindergarten through 6 for at least 17 years, and this is not at all a realistic time frame, especially in the area of reading. Teaching in spurts and then stopping to reassess and regroup is, in my professional opinion, a waste of time and resources. 6 weeks should be the minimum length of instruction, with 2 months or to the end of the school year being an ideal time frame for students to demonstrate growth. Secondly, OUSD's plan is to start with 2nd grade. Well, I teach 5th grade, where students have been online learning for 1/3 of their 4th grade year, most of their 5th grade year, and who will be promoting to middle school in 3 months. The current 2nd graders have 3 more years left in elementary school. Our upper grade students should be our priority. We cannot send these students off to middle school without an attempt to give them a solid foundation of basic skills. Lastly, I do not believe that randomly assigning students AM/PM time slots based on the previous hybrid schedule of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday was in the best interest of teachers, families, or students. I have a real concern that students are in need of extra support academically and are in the PM schedule will have a cognitive overload. According to OUSD's schedule, they will receive instruction from a site support teacher for 3 hours in the morning and then attend their core class with their teacher for 3 more hours in the afternoon. Developmentally, this is not ideal. These students should be in their core class learning grade level standards and content with their classroom teacher when they are fresh, and then attend remediation support classes in the afternoons to build the targeted areas that they need to improve, many of which are skills from previous grade levels. I understand that I am but one lone voice in the chorus of OUSD teachers, and I know that district leaders have a lot on the table to consider when planning for big changes such as this. But I just humbly ask that our practitioners, our OUSD teachers, could just be included in these discussions. We deserve to have a seat at the table, as we are the touch point between OUSD edicts and the effect that they have on Oceanside students and learning.
Thank you,
outcomes.
Victoria.
Thank you so much for listening.
Our next speaker is Todd Madison. There you go, Todd.
Hi. Hi. So as we come up on the first birthday of school closings, we once again see half measures from OUSD designed more to make people think a real effort is being made to open schools for our kids than actually do that. So far, we've seen over $31 million provided to OUSD to enable reopening, but as of today, our schools are not yet fully open. We know enrollment is down nearly 10%, but funding per ADA is being held steady, which means the district is being given over $20 million to educate kids they aren't educating. But as of today, our schools are not yet fully open. Now we see the state routing another $6.6 billion into this, with more to come from federal legislation, perhaps twice as much. And as of today, our schools are not yet fully open. How long will it be before we hear the call to use that money to give everyone another round of bonus raises? That's what happened every time we found extra money in the past, not reduced class sizes, not improved materials, not better support for kids who need it, but more money for the people who work here, reliably every time. On reopening, parents have been doing everything they possibly can to express their frustration, as we've heard tonight. Not only did I hear that as a candidate for board last year, but I'm also a founding member of the Parent Association Group, parent advocates helping with a lawsuit suing to reopen districts around San Diego County. For anyone interested, that lawsuit goes in front of a judge tomorrow morning. Parents who want to know the results are encouraged to join the Parent Association at parentassociation.org and follow the Parent Association page on Facebook for the latest news. We need all parents to be a part of the solution. Join our rally on Saturday downtown, 10 a.m. at the County Admin Building to demonstrate that. Now, like anyone who wants to solve problems, I like to look at not only the problem in front of me, but why the problem occurred in the first place. The reason here is clear. It's because we allowed our kids to be taken hostage and held as pawns in a political battle, one that's being fought more for the benefit of district special interests than our kids. As I said so many times last year, district first, not kids first. I've recently decided to join the effort to truly solve the problem. Forcing our education system to pay attention to what parents want for their kids is number one, whether it's reopening or anything else. Enacting true school choice is the way to do that, allowing parents whose kids are being used in a political battle to opt out and take them to an education system that works for them, not for itself. That's the real solution. I'm now the San Diego County Chair for the California School Choice Foundation. I would encourage any parents who want to fix the problem and support that effort to sign the petition in favor of school choice at californiaschoolchoice.org/petition. More on the impact of declining enrollment in school choice in off-agenda comment in a bit. Parents would like to stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Joanna Durantes is our next speaker.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Joanna, and I am a parent of a sixth grader at Chavez Middle School and also a district employee. So for what I'm looking at with this hybrid schedule, they will be getting less instruction time with their teachers, 1 day virtual, 2 days in person, and only a 5-minute virtual check-in with their teachers on their 2 asynchronous days. As of August, my child has been connecting with his teachers 5 days a week from 8 in the morning to about 1 p.m. He knows the schedule and what is expected of him. He's learned to adapt to a new school, to 6 different teachers, and he and his teachers have been amazing throughout all of this. Everyone wants to talk about mental health and how all of this has affected our kids. But do you guys think this change is going to help them when they have less than 61 days as of tomorrow left of school? No. One of my biggest concerns is consistency. Distance learning is the one consistent thing that these students have had. I understand everyone is not a fan, but they know what to expect and they have a routine. You expect them to be okay with returning possibly in April with all of possibility that they may end up having to revert back to virtual if there is a positive case. It's not okay to do this to these children or our teachers having to flip-flop back and forth. I am one of those staff members that had to quarantine last month due to a positive student in our class. And let me tell you, the toll it took on my mental health was not fun. And I can't even begin to imagine how it would affect a child. I implore you to make the decision now to continue distance learning for secondary schools for the remainder of the school year, to not further disrupt them from the chaos of the past and current year. We know COVID is not going to go away, but by fall of the next school year, those teachers and staff that want to be vaccinated will be fully vaccinated and a better plan can be put in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Our next speaker is Josephine Brinkman.
Good evening. Good evening, esteemed members of the Executive Cabinet and board members. My name is Josephine Brinkman and I'm a teacher at Oceanside High School. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Executive Cabinet, board members, my students, and the California Teachers Association members that have worked tirelessly during this historic COVID-19 pandemic. We will be in the history books. We have carried on through extraordinary times. To all the families in our communities and the world who have lost loved ones to COVID-19, I pass on my sincere condolences. Since March 13th, 2020, our district, our teachers, our students, and our Oceanside families have weathered this storm together. It isn't over, but I feel that our community members need to recognize the undying commitment and efforts that continue to go on behind the scenes. In no way do I wish to offend anyone, devalue anyone's feelings, or pretend to know it all. What I want to say is just some commentary from where I have been sitting for the past year and what I see now as we prepare for reopening should we be able to do so, is nothing but dedication. Our teachers and our students have been working together for almost 1 year behind a tiny camera to stay in the learning game. Our district has been behind us, jumping through hoops for all of us to provide food, technology, Wi-Fi, and care to keep our home fires burning. Don't get me wrong, it is not perfect. We still have shortages in that department, but I, for one, will continue advocating for much needed devices to keep our students connected both in the hybrid and virtual classroom. Contrary to those not in the know, and from tonight, I can tell you there are several of you out there, you're not in the know. Sorry, no offense. Student learning has never ceased for all students and definitely is not lost. What has been lost is faith, trust, and respect for those in district leadership and for the very teachers who serve in the classroom. These two have been some of the ugly side effects of COVID-19. Getting computers, PPE, hand sanitizer will be provided when we return, but tender, loving care, compassion, and common sense can't be bought. But a simple thank you for what you do, for what all of us do in education, goes a long way, people. Try practicing that and it will grow tenfold, I promise. Thank you to every custodian, nutrition staff member, security staff, our teachers, and our district leaders. But most importantly, thank you for our students in advance of reopening. We are behind you and we will get through this together. P.S. Teachers are priceless. That's why those parents raging for students to return to school want us back so badly, and we are worth every damn penny and dollar and more. So thank you for listening, and we're going to get through this. Hang in there, people.
Thank you, Josephine. That is the end of our public comments. So now we're on item 13, public comments. I believe we have 3 public comments. I'll just do a friendly reminder. You have 3 minutes. Just adhere to the timelines. And who is our first?
Chris Duvall, Todd Madison, and then Matt Mathis.
All right. So Chris Duvall, you're up. Hello, Chris.
Hi. There. All right. Hold on. Let me get this. All right. Good evening, board members. Dr. Vitale. I'm Chris Duvall.
I'm Angelica Rodriguez.
And we have Principal Dinah here with us today. And we are from Palomar Family Counseling Service. And we are here to talk about our prevention and early intervention grant that's funded by the County of San Diego. But wait, Miss Chris, I'm a little confused. Everyone looks really engaged. They don't look bored at all. Oh no, Dinah, it's not that kind of a board. Remember, we're at the Oceanside School District board meeting with the superintendent and the board president. Wow, that sounds really important. And I think I saw Mr. McAteer. Do you think he remembers me, Miss Chris? It's actually Dr. McAteer right now. And it was, you're bringing up a great point, because Dr. McAteer, along with other administrators and teachers, were pivotal in us piloting our program at Laurel and Mission 13 years ago. Wow, we've really been doing this a long time. Yes, we have been doing this a long time. And with the current support of the principals from Mission, Laurel, Libby, and San Luis Rey, we are continuing to be successful. And I really love working with the teachers. Yeah, so Dinah, why don't you share what you do? Okay, I'm the principal of Dinosaur School, and I go into the classroom in small groups with children preschool to 3rd grade. And at some of our sites, we're gonna go to the 4th and 5th grade. Right, so Dinah teaches a social emotional evidence-based curriculum from incredible years. Okay, that's a lot of big words. I just feel like I go in and talk to my friends and teach them how to listen, follow rules, and calm down. Right now we're virtual, and I even have my own Dinosaur School YouTube channel, Dino School 1234. I never thought I'd be on YouTube. Yeah, me neither, Dinah.
Let me tell them what we do for the parents. We do a parenting class. It's a 12-week course covering topics on positive parenting. Some of the topics we cover are importance of parental attention, setting limits, rules, consequences, and supporting academic habits at home. We have been doing some monthly game nights with the families because we felt it was important to engage the families during this time. During January, we play Loteria. In February, we play bingo. And in the month of March, we will have fun spring celebration.
It should be excellent.
The feedback from the families have been very positive, so we will continue doing this with the families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I just want to say Huxley loved the last bingo. It was so much, well, both of them, but he got really excited to go to this last one. So thank you. We really did.
We had 106 people register. Yeah, we had 106 people register. Dinah made a showing too.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, it was Mr. Mack too.
There's Mr. Mack. All right. So our next speaker is Todd Madison.
All right, that was great. That was great. Unfortunately, though, in general, I think the pandemic has exposed more of the disregard our school district has for the views of its parents, as fun as that was. We saw last spring, almost a year ago, when the district took the last poll ever asking whether parents wanted their kids back in full-time school. The answer was a clear majority. Only 15% wanted distance learning, but that was ignored. Over and over again throughout the summer, fall, and winter. Parents see this, they understand this, and they're voting with their kids. Enrollment is down all over. We just saw those numbers in the financial reporting. It doesn't look good. We'll see how that works out, as Mike said, but it's not looking good right now. Continue to adjust staffing for declining enrollment, as we saw in the financials, as corporate speak for layoffs ahead if something doesn't happen. And this is despite the fact that any parent knows changing schools is difficult. It seems everyone has a say in where your child is educated except you. What if California had real school choice? What if the default was to allow parents to make that decision rather than deny them that right? I chose OUSD for my kids, and I would do that again. We have great teachers and staff. You all know I've spent years trying to make our schools better, but I'm not so conceited that I think my opinion should dictate what other parents do for their kids. My family is fortunate, lucky. We have choices available to us that other families don't have, but luck shouldn't determine whether a child gets the education their parents want for them. Parents from less fortunate families deserve the same choices we had. We have an opportunity now like no other that has ever existed or will exist in our lifetimes. More parents than ever can see how our traditional system doesn't always put their kids first and understand there are other options out there. California's School of Choice initiative would establish education savings accounts for all kids, no discrimination, and credit them with their share of Prop 98 school funding. That would be used toward tuition at any accredited school. Traditional public school and charters would continue to be totally free, no change there. And if a parent feels private school is best, this year parents would get $12,648 credited toward that, meaning any balance due, if any, would be small. For those who agree inequity is a problem, how could you address that any better than by enabling low-income families to attend quality schools that are currently reserved for the well-to-do? Does anyone here really support locking low-income families out of schools they feel are best based on nothing more than the money they have? It seems a little elitist. For homeschooling parents with lower cost, unused credit would accumulate to be used towards college or vocational training, which would be $100,000 or more. Imagine having that for your kids' college. People who think now is the time to support common sense school choice should go to californiaschoolchoice.org, that's .org, and sign the petition there. There'll be a link on the Oceanside Parents Facebook page as well if you'd rather just click that. And so you know, I'm the San Diego County Chair for this effort. If you'd like to volunteer to help spread the word, I would love to have you on the team. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd. And we have one more speaker tonight, Matt Mathis. Hi, Matt. You're
Hi,
on.
everybody. Good night. How's it going? So full disclosure, I'm with the fire department. I'm on shift, so if we get a call, I'm gonna have to go. But so my name is Matt Mathis. I'm a fire captain with the City of Riverside Fire Department. Been serving the public for just over 18 years. Also the union vice president for our local and the vice chair of the City of Oceanside Measure X Citizens Oversight Committee. So pretty involved with trying to get more involved with the community, heavily involved with my community, and my local, and just understanding the process a little bit more. So haven't met many of you personally, looking forward to, as soon as we can, meet in person and in public, get to know more of you better. But I just wanted to say, after hitting the 4th hour of tonight, I really appreciate your commitment to serving the community, serving our kids, the students, and the future. I know sometimes it can be a selfless task, but all of you being willing to do that and put in the hours you are, it's not always the most appreciated, but thank you guys. What I did want to ask you about was my son, Hartford, is 4. He's going to be going into hopefully the TK program. We've been in communication with the director of the preschool program, Miss Reed, and trying to talk to her about the age and cutoff for registration. Right now, because of the closures, it sounds like there's been an addendum that's been allowed to extend the age for registering for the TK, which has been great. And we're really excited to have that opportunity. He would turn 5 on August 30th, and then the school cutoff registration would be September 2nd. So he would have been 5 and 2 days at the cutoff and be the youngest one in the class after being isolated for the past year. So it would obviously put us in a little bit of a rough position. Getting communication back from the preschool program director, sounds like they're going to give some extension on that date, allow us to keep him in a TK program instead of the kindergarten. But what my question is, looking out to the future, how is that option going to play out in the future? Will he be able to continue now into a kindergarten track and then 1st grade? Or after this year, is it going to go back to the previous dates? And now by default, he would go into the 1st grade. Been a huge supporter of public schools. I understand that all the different options, charters, public, private, homeschool, all have their place. But being the background I come from and supporting the public school and the locals and the workforce, it's always been near and dear to my heart to make sure that we're providing and supporting what the public school system needs for the community. So would like to keep our kid in that track, looking forward to it. And again, just want to say thanks to you guys all for your commitment and your willingness to serve and to put in the long hours to do what's best for our kids.
Thank you, Matt, for sharing that. Someone from our staff, our superintendent is right here, Dr. Vitale. So I'm sure someone from our staff will reach out and help you with your questions about the cutoff date.
Yes, we will have someone from staff reach out.